Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
The writers on that show not qualified. I've been watching that show recently, and to be honest with you, I think the writers are getting really lazy.
Yeah, they always use the same tropes.
They reuse the same tropes over and over, like how they never have consistent quality.
Yeah, it's like their audio is always messed up.
Their audio is all over the place, or sometimes they're on video, sometimes they're not.
Yeah,
and sometimes they don't
sync.
even. Yeah, sometimes they don't even talk about the topic they're supposed to talk about.
Yeah.
Gosh, I hate those guys.
I'm sorry.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Not Qualified. If you haven't done this yet, and I hope you have, if you're smart, you will have already called 918-268-6337 and left us a voicemail for us to talk about something on the show. Maybe you want to just leave a comment, or maybe a movie you want us to review. But for those of you that are cool, you will have already done that. So if you haven't, do that now. And also, Joe, I have a question.
Yeah, what's your question?
My question is, when you and me are walking side by side, like we're walking down a sidewalk, and one of us has something to say to the other, ever in our lives has one of us ever stopped and gotten in front of the other person and turned around to face them and stopped walking?
Never.
But it happens in every movie.
Every rom-coms
especially rom-coms. They'll be walking next to each other, and then one of them takes it, like whirls around in front of them, and they stop on the sidewalk.
TV shows are really bad. Yeah.
That's just a segue into our topic. What's our topic?
Today we're talking about TV tropes.
Yeah. So not the website, the actual TV tropes.
Things that are overused.
Yes. Our favorite, our least favorite.
Yeah.
Favorites, least favorites. And the reason we are doing this episode is because there was something that I was thinking about the other day on a drive that I think is hilarious. It is by far my favorite movie trope ever. And it is in movies and TV shows. Anytime that something takes place in a small town, there's this trope, and it's the reason it's so funny is because it's accurate. It's really true. Small towns will have a very oddly specific thing that they're super proud of, or that they're known for, and that becomes their identity. And it's like cringy, like, oh, this town thinks this is important. It's their one claim to fame, and it's just funny because it's true, especially where we live in Oklahoma.
Yeah, in these small
dumb towns that each have one claim to fame. So, like, for example, in examples that would be Waiting for Guffman, when the town, which president was it that came through and put his feet on a footstool, and now they make footstools, or whatever. Like that, they have these weird specific claims to fame. Or like in Pawnee, Indiana, in Parks and Rec, they all love little Sebastian, the horse, and it's like their one thing, and everyone there is cringy, obsessed with it, and no one outside of them understands. Yeah. I think that is one of the funniest movie tropes ever, because it's true. The town you and me live in, Tahlequah, has wrapped its identity up in the book Where the Red Fern Grows, because that book takes place in our town. We have a statue of the main character in the middle of town. We have a festival every year, Red Fern Festival, and it's normal to us, but it's probably really cringy to an outsider thinking, wow, they have that one claim to fame. They have that in Carrie Underwood, and that's our identity. But that's an example of a trope that I actually love because it's true. Yeah. Do you have any tropes?
Tropes I like
or dislike, either one.
I do not like montages.
Okay.
Like at all.
Like any?
Like, I mean, yeah, if you go back and like
Rocky?
Rocky's fine, yeah. But it's a trope, so it gets overused.
Right.
So anytime somebody's like, we got to prepare for something.
And then there's a montage.
And then there's a music, and it's them like...
So how do you feel about tropes that are overused now, but like weren't they, like... people call it, what is it, the Seinfeld effect?
Yeah.
Where people think
Seinfeld is cliche.
Seinfeld is cliche. That's what it is. Where people think Seinfeld is cliche because it set the standard. Like everything else since then has copied Seinfeld, and it makes Seinfeld retroactively seem cliche, but it wasn't at the time. Same thing with Rocky. Yeah. It's every sports movie follows the Rocky formula now, but Rocky was the first one, obviously. So, like when you go back and watch Rocky, do you still hate montages, or is it okay then?
I mean, yeah, I get over it because it's a good movie.
Yeah. Fair enough.
It kind of just seeing it in all of cinema for the past 50 years has really put.
I'm trying to think of montages I like, and the only ones I can think of are in the Rocky movies. Like I think of the Rocky IV training montage, the one where Rocky's in the mountains, like training with tires and planks of wood, and then Ivan Drago is in like a spaceship, like being tested upon, and chemicals injected into him, and it's just showing them simultaneously training while Survivor plays.
Another trope I don't like because it's always something I see coming, and not that it's bad. I want something a little more creative sometimes. And it's the Act 3 character fallout.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. That's a Pixar trope, especially. Yeah. At the beginning of Act 3 of every Pixar movie, end of Act 2, beginning of Act 3, the main characters will have a falling out.
Yeah.
In Toy Story, Wood and Buzzy, 2/3 of the Wood and Buzzy. What? Woody and Buzz. Oh, my goodness. You know what? Never mind. I like Wood and Buzzy. They have a falling out in Toy Story 2/3 of the way through. You know, they have the whole thing where Woody, what does he try to do? Push him out the window or something?
Something like that. Yeah, he shoves him out the window and tries to kill him.
And then in Up, obviously Russell and what's his name?
Carl.
Carl. Yeah. They have their whole little thing, and then Dory separates from. Freaking, what's his name?
Nemo?
No, Nemo's the kid.
Marlin.
Marlin and Dory separate, 2/3 through. And then Soul has he sends her back, 22 back to this. 22. And then what was the other one I was thinking of? A Pixar movie where that happens. Oh, Monsters, Inc. Mike and Sully when they're in the mountains in the snow.
Monsters, Inc. Ratatouille. They do Ratatouille.
Yeah, every Pixar movie has the same formula. And it works. But yes, and it's not just that trope is not just specific to Pixar. That's everywhere.
Yeah.
The Act 3 falling out.
Your turn.
Oh, okay. One I was thinking of one that I don't like. I'll tell you why. I think for me with rom-coms, I like a lot of rom-coms, and I even like rom-coms that are formulaic, that are pretty by the book. Even a lot of them. Yeah.
Even rom-coms, most of them suffer from Act 3 character fallout.
Yes, they do. And then they have the last minute resolution. Mm-hmm. And my favorite rom-coms, I was thinking about this the other day, are the ones that break the mold, which that's just in general a good rule of thumb. If you don't want to be cliche, don't use cliches.
Yeah.
But I was thinking of 500 Days of Summer. Mm-hmm. They have the character fallout, the Act 3 fallout. And what you expect is a last minute resolution. And what happens instead, spoiler alert, is they just stay broken up.
Yeah.
And it's not, that's a little different because the story's told non-linearly. So it's not really, you know what I mean? It's not, you can't quite put it at the beginning of Act 3 like you do. But it twists that on its head and he ends up with somebody else.
Yeah. But they do it in La La Land.
Yeah, they also flip it on its head. I love it.
Like that. Yeah. I love it.
Yep.
Here's a trope I don't like.
We should have looked up a list beforehand.
While we're waiting on this. A trope I don't like is whenever in a movie, whenever there's a scientist character, is whenever the scientist character is trying to help out the group or the crew or whatever, and they're like, well, we found a solution, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It was kind of hard, but we had blah, 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 science jargon.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you could put it into normal people terms.
Oh, my gosh.
And like,
oh, my gosh. I know. Yeah.
Seriously, so bad.
Do you know what? There's one that we haven't mentioned yet.
Really?
That both of us hate, and we make fun of it in every movie that it shows up in.
Okay, what is it?
It's specific to sci-fi movies.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And it's when a character, the science smart character, has to explain wormholes or time travel either one, to another character. And you know what they do? They try to explain it in science jargon, and the other character goes, but duh, I don't understand. I'm supposed to represent the audience. And he goes, give me a piece of paper and a pen. And then they take the piece of paper and the pen. He puts 2 dots on the piece of paper. He says, here's where we are, and here's where we need to get. And here's what this wormhole does, right? And he folds the paper in half so the dots are touching and sticks his pencil right through it, and everybody goes, whoa, mind's blown. We make fun of that every time it shows up because it's in I think it's in multiple Christopher Nolan movies, and it's in Event Horizon, and it's just like
it's in Stranger Things.
Yeah, it's in Stranger Things.
Yeah, it's just obnoxious.
Yeah. And then let's see, genre tropes. Okay, what genre do we want? Action adventure, comedy, drama, fairy tale.
Do drama. I'm
drama
interested
tropes.
to see
Okay.
what's going to happen.
So, abusive parents. Is there a way to sort by most popular? Because this is alphabetical. What is milking the giant cow? Oh, milking the giant cow is a term that refers to the practice of holding your hands skyward to show emotion. So,
that's funny.
Yeah,
that's really funny.
That is pretty funny.
milking
the giant cow. That is funny. I'll tell you one that I hate. I don't know why I hate it, but I do. And I hate it. Happens in horror movies a lot, or disaster movies.
Yeah.
I hate when movies show fake news footage.
Yeah.
When it cuts to like breaking news and it's a very clearly, like, I don't know why, but for some reason movies can't mimic the way news footage looks.
No.
It looks terrible. It's like,
awful.
It looks like a YouTuber green screen.
Yeah.
And regular news footage already looks bad. It just doesn't look right. Like, why can't you make it look right?
Or
it just doesn't.
Or they turn on the TV.
They turn on the TV and just
goes to
exposition. And that's why I hate it. It's because it's lazy. It's like, a good example of this is Bird Box versus A Quiet Place. Yeah. Bird Box was an okay movie. Quiet Place was actually a really good movie.
Yeah.
And in Quiet Place, they don't give you any clunky exposition. There's no dialogue in that movie, but they don't give you clunky exposition to explain, like, here's where the monsters came from.
Yeah.
It's just, like, pinned up on the walls in the background. There's scrawlings on pieces of paper that kind of tell you, okay, they came from inside the earth. They are attracted to noise. They're blind, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. That kind of stuff. Whereas in Bird Box, the characters just turn on the news and watch the coverage of what's happening. Yeah. And, like, that's lazy.
It's super lazy.
You're just telling the audience what's happening. And I just don't like it. I don't like when there's news footage.
I really appreciate whenever the director or the writer understands that the audience isn't stupid, at least most of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of stupid people that watch movies. You ever look up a bad movie on Google and then the Google user review is like 90%?
Yeah.
You're like, how? How does it have that high of a
percent? People have dumb monkey brain.
Because dumb monkey
including
brain.
us.
I think we do have dumb monkey brain. That's true.
Not literally. Because I do like bananas.
Well, it's proof enough.
Another trope is whenever the Aaron Sorkin trope of smart character versus dumb character.
Yeah.
That's always a fun one. Whenever it happens a lot in teen movies, like high school movies, where our main character who gets picked on, who is misunderstood, he says something really smart in class, and then all the characters throw their pencils at him.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh my gosh, what a nerd. He answered the teacher's question. And then the teacher like laughs along with the students instead of being, or they're like, stop it, you guys. But they're like,
yeah.
And that brings me into my least favorite genre of tropes. High school tropes.
Yeah.
Because they are so unrealistic. Like, I'm sorry if anyone out there has ever had their head stuffed in a toilet and put in a locker, but you are the exception to the rule. Okay, that doesn't happen anymore. But for some reason, in high school movies, bullies are depicted as sadistic,
like cruel human beings.
Yeah, well, and kids are cruel.
Yeah, yeah.
But for example, in Stranger Things, a kid pulls a knife on another kid. Right? Am I thinking of Stranger Things season 1 where they're I remember they get bullied in that, but they like get severely beaten for no reason. And then no. I'm thinking of It. Where the kid pulls out a knife and carves his name into a chest. I'm like, okay, that's not bullying at this point. It's a murder. It's attempted murder.
Yeah, that's attempted murder.
So, but it happens. Like, high school bullying in movies is so over the top.
Yeah, I agree. And it was especially bad in like the mid 2000s.
Yes, that was when it peaked.
And I'm like, oh, I'm a sassy high school girl. And then all the other girls like literally assault her. Like,
yes.
Like, why?
Yeah.
When does this happen?
It doesn't. I mean, it might. If it
maybe
happened
maybe my sister actually just had the worst time in high school and I never heard about it.
I mean, I think it probably happened in like the 60s.
Yeah.
But I don't know that it's, maybe up through the 80s a little bit.
I don't even remember hearing about people that I know who grew up in those times.
No.
Deal with that kind of bullying.
No. It's just over the top.
I like Spider-Man Homecoming. because none of the actors look like they're older than high school age.
Yeah.
They all look like they're in high school.
And it's also, I like how they flipped the whole bully thing on its head and had Flash be a nerd.
Yeah.
Who's just like, he's like a nerd bully.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm smarter than you. Because those kids exist too.
Yeah.
The annoying kids who brag that they're smarter than everybody. Anyway, so I like when they're a little bit more clever with it instead of just following the...
I think that's one of the reasons I like those slice of life movies.
Yeah.
Like Whiplash. Like it's super realistic. I'm not looking for somebody's screenwriting. I feel like I'm just looking at
You're
somebody
just watching
live their
somebody's life. Yeah.
And it just happens to be movie worthy.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. You know what my favorite trope is?
What?
Is when podcasts tell people to call a phone number and leave a voicemail.
Yeah, how cliche.
I know, especially when that phone number is 918-268-6337.
I feel like I've heard that number so many times.
Yeah, I haven't memorized it this point.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous.
It's just cliche.
And especially whenever podcasts like tell their viewers to rate them on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, like 5 stars.
Yeah.
Oh, leave us a 5-star review.
We get it.
Buy our merch at zfoster.com/podcast. Yeah, I hear that all the time. It's so stupid.
So dumb.